Well, greetings, everyone. Happy Tuesday. Dr. Jeff Riggenbach back here with you on another Tips Tuesday to give you another tip for dealing with the difficult people in your life. This social media series is from my new book, Disarming High Conflict Personalities, dealing with the 8 most difficult people in your life before they drive you nuts. And if you haven't gotten your tip sheet there on how to sort of a top 10 tips for having a difficult conversation, feel free to grab that by clicking the link in the description or the comments below. Those top 10 tips for having a difficult conversation. Helpful for whether you're dealing with an employee or someone on your leadership team at work, whether you're dealing with somebody at school, in administration, or an educator of some kind, and helpful if you're in a church or the faith-based setting or running a nonprofit and have trouble with people in your meeting. These tip sheets are generic enough that they are helpful for dealing with difficult people and having difficult conversations, regardless of the context in your life. So today's tip has to do with connecting, and we say that connecting is key. Connecting is key. 2010. Seems like a long time ago now to me. John Maxwell, one of my mentors, wrote a book called Everyone Communicates, Few Connect. And I think in that book, one of the things that really resonated with me is the idea sort of hit me like when I heard a song by one of my favorite artists, Rich Mullins, a song lyric of his that says, "People be friendly, but they'll rarely be your friend." And both of those lines sort of hit me similarly as, whoa, there's a pretty big difference between the former and the latter, between just being friendly, which I think a lot of people can be bubbly and friendly and say hi and put on a cheery smile, but you don't know the real them. And a lot of people communicate in different ways, but to really connect is a different thing. And so it really, both of those ideas really challenged me in my personal life and my professional life to really go out of my way to be authentic, to be genuine, to strive for a depth that is missing in a lot of the relationships and a lot of the interactions out there. And so connecting is really, really important, and it involves a depth that most people miss. And so this is our tip for today, is to go out of your way to do everything you can to connect with people. When we get to the 8 specific types of difficult people, we're going to have some very specific strategies later on in this free social media series that you can get for working with specific types. But I want to start just with a few very basic, sort of general tips for connecting with people. I'm going to give you 3 out of John Maxwell's work that I expound upon and talk about in my book and my coaching program. But it's simply that, number 1, take time. Number 2, care about people enough to. And then number 3, connecting on common ground. I'm going to talk about all 3 of those together in just the limited time that we have here. But go out of your way. Okay, care about people enough to go out of your way to connect on common ground. Find one thing that you have in common with those people. And it doesn't matter what area of life, again, we're talking about here. I get a little bit of a chuckle. I was, as much of the work as I do virtually these days. I had a friend the other day said, "Jeff, you don't know anybody on your Facebook page. You've got all these people and you've never even met them." And it is true that most of you out there probably I have not met in person, although many of you I've worked with or are friends, or some of you I have met since I knew you on Facebook. And that's actually one small way that I really just go out of my way, even on my work virtually here, as I meet people, air quotes there, on Facebook. I go out of my way to try to connect with them, try to learn something about them. She actually went through 100 friends that she picked out of my Facebook list, and I'm happy to say I knew where 91 of them lived, even though I think I only met 2 or 3 of them in person. Because I go out of my way to see what I can learn about people. And if I see something in common, I make it a point of emphasis. I message them. I try to connect with them in some way. And so I've got, even if it seems small or kind of silly, I mean, I know that, Julia is my coffee girl that lives in Florida. Okay, so if we see coffee memes, we may often share them with one another. I know that Vince out on the West Coast, Southern California, not only do we share an interest in behavioral health type issues, we're both in the leadership space now, And here's the sort of off the beaten path thing. We have an affinity for the exact same Mexican restaurant, Old Town Mexican Cafe, area of San Diego. Unbelievable Mexican food. So I get a message from him once in a while, and he's out in Old Town, or we'll communicate around that. Or, I found out Deborah, my friend from Ohio, and she's moved now, but was in Ohio when I met her. I found out that she and I share a passion for tennis. And so we'll actually text sometimes now during the majors when they come around. And found out that also Marina and Louis Kotze in Pretoria, South Africa, have that same interest in tennis. And so when I was on my speaking tour of South Africa, 2017, 18, I think that I did my speaking tour down there, we almost got to go play tennis together. We did do a number of other things, connected in person. I went on a safari and shared a couple of meals and all kinds of stuff. So my friend Tarun Stevenson, who I met through the John Maxwell Team, I found out that he is a pastor in Brisbane, and he also runs a leadership program on dealing with difficult personalities. So all of this in common from somebody literally halfway across the world. So when I did my speaking tour down there, just before COVID hit, and when I was in Brisbane, did my couple of dates there, I got to connect with Tarun and shared a meal and some wonderful conversations. And so I could go on and on and on. But the point here is, go out of your way. And this may be the challenge for you. I'd ask you to share in the comments, what are some ways that you connect with people? How do you do that? Whether it's at work, whether it's at church, whether it's with friends, just share in the comments there if you wouldn't mind. What are some strategies that you use to connect with people that you found to be effective? And the one for this week that we're going to focus on is connecting on common ground. So I'm going to challenge you to, regardless of setting, identify somebody that you know a little bit, but find one thing. Care enough to start a conversation, to go out of your way to find one thing that you have in common with that person that maybe you didn't know you had a common interest in, or was a common point of emphasis. I think that's just important for connecting with anybody. All of these people I've mentioned just turned out to be actual friends to one degree or another, when they started off just virtually didn't know them at all. And so what are you going to do? Well, what's one thing that you can do to go out of your way to try to connect with somebody? And again, I started to say this is important for any sort of relationship, but particularly if you get into a relationship with a difficult person. Now, is connecting with them going to solve all of your problems? No. Connecting with somebody will not guarantee that you are able to handle them effectively or handle difficult situations effectively. But I do guarantee you that if you do not connect with them, there is zero chance that you will be able to handle a difficult situation with them on down the road. And sometimes those points of connection, those points of interest are enough to help us manage through difficult situations, difficult conversations that arise with that individual, or sometimes just connecting with them initially helps provide the foundation for a relationship that really does become meaningful. And then it's the relationship that's going to help kind of boost you through the turbulent waters that you might have. But connecting with people, absolutely key. So that's the challenge for this week. Identify somebody, try to find one piece of common ground that you share with that person that you didn't realize you had. And if you want to, you could even come back to the thread and share it with us. Let us know how it went for you this week. I hope everybody here in the States and anywhere else that might celebrate it, I guess, has a wonderful Thanksgiving. Enjoy your Turkey Day. For those of you that may not celebrate it, I hope you have an excellent week as well. And we'll see you next Tuesday. Bye for now.